good evening, or as the mood suits you, afternoon. Welcome to MafiaMyths.com. I am Anthony Bastiano, your host. I will be with you for as long as this program is viable. This episode we'll talk about The Godfather. The Godfather was written by Mario Puzo in 1969. The movie was made in 1972. It became an instant success. Why? Because it depicted an ethnic group totally and completely involved in crime, and it became a story of a worldwide control of everything in government, in society, in life, by an Italian gangster. His name was Michael Corleone. Even the writer, Mario Puzo, admitted when the movie became a success, even he admitted that the movie was fictional and it did not depict any ethnic group alone. He claimed that it was a series of events that took place in history which he put together to form a coherent whole. He used his literary freedom, his literary license as it were, to tell a story which became the bane of most Italian families. The movie, which depicts the rise and fall of an Italian family, which is fiction, by the way, and it is fiction because there is no Michael Corleone. There was never any Michael Corleone, either in crimedom or out of it. Corleone is a small town in Sicily that the writer of the piece, Mario Puzo, gave prominence. He used the name Corleone because listen to the vowels, listen to the words, listen to the vowel soundings. Sounds good, doesn't it? But let me tell you something. It did not have a good effect on the youth of our country. I remember, because I was around at that time, and I was there to watch the youth of my community being hung up on the concept of the mafia, falling by the wayside, getting themselves involved in gangster activities, wanting to be like Michael Corleone or any of the characters, or Sonny Corleone, any of the characters in the movie itself. Most of our youth today believe very strongly that there was such a thing as the Godfather, and so every so often an individual Italian who happens to be a gangster or who happens to be involved in illegal activities gets branded the newest Godfather. Who's the new Godfather? That's the favorite saying among the FBI, who set up the Godfathers for their downfall. Is a code that says we gotta keep an Italian American in the front of the world so that we can keep the mafia myth alive, so that we will have the funds to operate our organization, the Federal Bureau of Investigation. which, by the way, has a whole section of some 250 people, all of them Italian Americans, actively involved as agents to solve the problem of the mafia. If we allege that such a power exists as the FBI, they could have closed down such an organization very easily. But they chose to give it life, to give it publicity, to feed the newspapers articles about a particular person whom they might choose to be the Godfather. And they do choose the Godfather. That is a well-known fact. And this I learned from an FBI agent himself, who told me that it behooved them to keep the mafia section of the FBI alive because it brought in money. It paid the bills. It gave 250 or so agents work. But I assure you, as sure as I'm still alive, there is no such organization. And I intend to prove that with my descriptions in every episode of the MafiaMyths.com. So keep in touch with us. Follow our logic. Follow our way of describing the events that some seem to think prove there is a mafia, and some seem to think that the mafia is powerful. There is no mafia. I mean, a lot of legitimate Italian Americans are very disturbed over the fact that the FBI continues to function as if there was a mafia or a Cosa Nostra, which, by the way, I will describe its origins. I happen to have been there the day that Cosa Nostra was first formulated. I was there, and I know who started that so-called organization. It was a stool pigeon who allowed himself to be used by the FBI and brought them stories which convicted a lot of people and sent a lot of people to hundreds of years in jail. But that's another story. We can get to that later. Right now, we want to talk about my distasteful view of The Godfather. And I say with honesty, I do not think The Godfather was a bad movie. I think it was a brilliant one. I think it was well done. Maybe that's why it caught on so well. Of course, it was very well done, very well acted, and very well directed. Even the writer, the guy who's responsible for it all, has admitted numerous times that it was fiction and that he invented the story out of whole cloth, and he became a literary giant. Maybe you might better off reading his copy of The Pilgrim, which has a totally different effect and a totally different attitude about an Italian American family or an immigrant family coming to America. It's called The Pilgrim, and it's written by Mario Puzo. It was his first book, and it's the one that he's considered the most famous for. The Godfather was just an exercise in literary genius, but is in any event not true, and is one of the major legends that I tend to overcome. And we will overcome them as weeks go by. and we talk to you and meet again. Goodbye.